Hey everybody, hey Ron again, and we're back today, and we're going to go over the logic editor thing. Um, I was going to do kind of a series of events and objectives and stuff, but I figured I'd cover the conditional editor first, seeing as how there can be a bit to it. So what I've done is I've set up a simple scenario here where there's 4 friendly alphas, including me, 4 friendly Bravos, and then on the enemy side there are 4 friendly Charlies and then 4 friendly Deltas. And so the objective here is to kill or be killed. So it's a simple scenario where, like, if the mission were to start in this very simple scenario, like everyone's just gonna fly straight at each other and we're gonna have a small dogfight going on right here. And the whole point would just be to win the dogfight. So there doesn't need to be a lot of objectives and all this other stuff, or events and all this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use one single objective, and we're just going to call this thing, like, I don't know, win or lose. So again, I'm doing something relatively simple here, and you can do this, I think, a couple of different ways. So if you see here really quick and we remember the setup, I could probably do a destroy type objective and specify that you had to kill all these targets, or you had to kill a minimum number, and then you can even fill in reward details if you want to give them that. So I think I'm going to accomplish this goal but using the conditional editor. So that we can do this same thing a different way. So I'm going to change it to conditional, and then when you notice, a quick description: kill all enemies and win, or all friendlies perish and lose, if I can spell lose. So the conditional editor, this thing's awesome. Just scroll your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. So I'm not. This isn't going to be a logic gate tutorial, but you got to understand the simplicity of what logic gates are. So and logic gate being, if you feed 2 conditions into it, both conditions must prove true for the logic gate to open. Versus the or logic gate, when you feed 2 inputs into it, the logic gate will open if you feed it one or the other or both. So it's just knowing the way that these work when you're setting this kind of stuff up. So again, we are, I don't remember, did we enter success or failure? Oh, okay, it was success. So then the success condition is going to be when all enemy units have perished. So we're going to go to a unit group. I suppose, let me zoom in a little bit here, maybe not that much. All right, here. So then we're going to specify out of the unit groups, we're going to say, because again this is the success condition, so all the enemies need to die. And then there are a series of things you can switch between on the type that you've chosen underneath. So we can look to see if they're all airborne, or a specific amount are airborne, or all of them are on the ground, or all of them are alive, or a specific number of them are alive. Are they near waypoints? Are they detected? All units detected. So we're actually, in this particular case, just, I tried actually, believe it or not, so if I wanted to say that everybody in this unit was dead, I tried is not everybody alive, and it didn't work like you might think it will. So the property being is if the condition proves true, so, and then is not is if the condition proves false. So just depends on how you want to run your logic, but in this particular case I tried to say if all of this unit is not alive, and I kept getting objective completion messages when there were still enemies in the air. So I didn't quite understand why, but the problem immediately went away, And this is just one of the things you would think to try, I guess, as a programmer. I don't know if anybody else would have the mindset, but I would hope so. But just go to number alive and just specify the comparison to be equals, and then just say number 0, so that you're saying if the number of enemies in this unit are alive is equal to 0, then you want the condition out of this thing we're dragging around to fire. So now we have to do another one of these, because remember, we have 2 units. So then we go back to the unit group, and then we're going to specify delta in this case, because if you remember, we specified Charlie up here. And then we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to say num is alive and say equal. And so, well, we can't just put 2 things to the output, like that's not how it works. So again, in this particular case, I'm going to use an AND box to say if Charlie and delta, because they are both required to be gone before this condition proves true, because it's the success condition. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the AND gate to the output directly, and then I'm going to connect each of the unit groups to the AND gate. So remember, this is just stitching both of these conditions into one condition because of the AND. So then it will output. Likewise, I could put an OR here, but if delta died, then you'd still get the message even though Charlie was alive, and we wouldn't want that, because remember, OR gates are one or the other or both. So we need it to be AND, so Charlie and delta are gone, and then this will prove true. So that will tell us that we have won. And then you can probably conversely think that, oh, the lose condition then would be is if all of the friendlies, so alpha, me included, and all of us, number of us alive. So you'll lose if you automatically die. So this pretty much just kind of pertains to every other AI unit in the alpha group. And then likewise, we want to specify it again for Bravo. And so then if we, again, same thing, the number of people in the Bravo unit alive is equal to 0, then we want this to fire out its condition. So same as before, we want to attach an AND gate. So you can add multiple AND gates and do all this stuff here, or multiple things to connect the AND gate to, and if you need more points to connect it to, just hit the plus button and you'll get all these points to connect it to. But you have to make sure that you have some to feed into all those points. So I'm just going with the simple base 2 here. So we'll say again, if all friendlies are dead, we're going to output this condition. Here we go. And that condition is on the fail side of it. That being said, so if this condition proves true, you fail this condition. I should probably put a waypoint just because. Base 1 here, auto set waypoint, so the dogfighting's happening around base 1. So here on the completed event, which will fire on success, I could play the epic hero music, dun 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 dun, and on the failed event, when this proves true, I could play the sad music and tell you that you failed the mission and that you got to try again. So this is a very powerful way to control how you want the effects of the thing you're kind of planning to do to occur. And as you can imagine from this, you can probably make these fairly complicated, stitching multiple things together. There's lots of stuff here. I haven't even played with it all yet. Static objects. Honestly, I've mostly just been messing with the unit groups, the units, and the AND and the ORs, and then picking all the various different conditions on here to make them kind of meet criteria that I'm setting up for the scenarios I'm building. So sorry again, I don't have a whole lot of, this is exactly the way everything inside here works, but that should give you a good general overview of the way that the conditional editor works and how you can attach things together to accomplish an objective. There are different ways to or different spots to use the conditional in, and I believe one of them will be, is it an event? Yes. So here we could specify some kind of condition again. So likewise, if, just as another random example here, if we wanted to say that, well, when we'll set up one of these OR conditions now, so we'll do the same thing actually, and I think that's a glitch maybe. So I definitely did make a Bravo enemy team. So Charlie again, and all of Charlie is not alive, and then we'll pick another group, and then we'll say all of Delta is not alive. But this time we'll use an OR gate so that when either one of the two groups dies first, we'll connect it to the output. So then if either Charlie or Delta as a group would to die, we could send a message to the user to say, halfway there, great job, keep going, you're almost done. In this case I'm just going to pick a random MP3, but just imagine this isn't a random song, it's an audio or a custom message to the user or player. So that would then fire when, again, one of the two units would die, and they'd get this message that they're an awesome hero and to keep serving their country proud. So it can get really confusing to start getting crazy with his conditional editor. So I would say do your best to try to keep the things you're trying to make conditional logic behind relatively simple, so that you don't try to get into a mess of too complicated logic, or where you try to get one conditional to plug into another conditional, which triggers an event which calls another conditional, and then before you know it, it's going to be hard to figure out why something's going wrong in your mission. So just that's the stuff that makes it cool, but you just have to make sure to organize it and structure it in a way that is easy to follow, easy to use, and kind of easy to see what's going wrong. So just be mindful of the level of complication that you put into this kind of stuff. And so now next time I'll work on chaining a few events together and kind of putting them with an objective to make some kind of relatively small, simple mission that gives you kind of the premise of how this stuff works. And kind of even maybe what I did for the Schlebovian conflict level 1, the Summer Isle invasion, might even be a good example, because the basics of the mission is pretty much what we just described here. Is you fly into enemies attacking a base already, then you destroy them, their reinforcements arrive, you guys destroy them, more reinforcements arrive, you destroy them or die, and then you land at the base heroically. So it is just more one of those kill all the bad guy type events, but I got a few other kind of story plot points in there and enemy spawn trigger points. So doing some kind of simple example like that should show you how to kind of stitch these things together in a relatively simple way to make an effective mission. So we'll see you guys next time for all that awesome work.